like the T-shirt very much. Very good.
Thank you.
Your T-shirt. It's a Christmas tree. It's a funky Christmas tree.
It's a Christmas sweater. Yeah. So thanks very much for doing this. This is called the Greatest Music of All Time podcast, and it's a real honor to speak to you. And
Good.
I wanted to start by asking you, if you would mind casting your eye back to what made you fall in love with music in the first place.
I think when you're a child, like 3-4 years old, I was always, I'd go on the floor and sit next to the radio. It's kind of a big radio. We didn't have television in those days. So the radio was everything. And that was in the 40s. And I'd be listening to, Glenn Miller music and music of the 40s, like big band music. And then, of course, in those days, there was BBC 1, 2, and 3. And BBC 3 was strictly classical music. So, I'd listen to Elgar and the Planet Suite. I get very frightened when I listen to Mars by Gustav Holst, who was actually from living in Leeds. I think he was from Leeds with a name like Gustav Holst. And, music like that in those mid-40s till the beginning of the 50s was all that I would connect with musically, because my mum and dad were ballroom dancers and they were champions of East Lancashire. Very important, they had a cup on the mantelpiece. And so I'd go and watch them dance, and I'd be listening to all these different kinds of music in dance, which again, it's a lot of pop. Glenn Miller stuff. I keep saying Glenn Miller. I have to think of somebody else. Count Basie. Those days, it's kind of like very lightweight pop music, very, very sweet and wonderful. And then, of course, the 50s came, and I was basically brought up to work as a kid, just to help the family out because my dad was pretty ill. And so I'd go on the local farm with my brother, and we would sing in the 50s. We would sing Everly Brothers songs, 56, 57, around that time. And then Elvis Presley came out. So you get involved in all that music at an early stage. And by the time the 60s came, my brother had a band, and I joined his band. And from then on, I just wanted to be a Beatle. We went to see the Beatles in Southport in April 1963, and changed my life completely, because they were a great band. There was nobody screaming at the end of every song they'd scream. Of course, there were girls at the front, but within 6 months we went to see them again, and you couldn't hear them because people were screaming like a football match, going crazy, man.
Yeah. The mania just looked insane. A lot of people have said since, these guys are the next Beatles, but based on just watching the footage, I don't think there's ever been anything quite like that kind of hysteria for a pop band. Maybe close, but
yeah. You got a Beatle cup, so you're cool. It's true. But later on there was the Stones, of course, and there was mayhem with them, and it became a norm in the 60s for people, especially girls, to go and watch a band and scream at them. I was in a band called The Warriors with my brother, and we got screamed at maybe a couple of times. Once, I remember very vividly, it was in Edinburgh at a club, and we were singing Twist and Shout, and they were all going crazy as though we were like the Beatles. And as time gone on, you have your boy bands, everybody screams like crazy on them. It's a natural letting go of the sort of energy to go and go and watch all different kinds of performers, and young people like to scream a lot. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, for sure they do. So during this period, when you first started gigging, what was that experience like? Because I think for musicians now first starting out, it's really quite different. Was it like every or majority of clubs didn't have like DJs, they had live bands. Is that the case, or did you still get?
Oh, it's the same. It's the same now, to be honest, where bands get in a van and get their equipment and set it all up while people are drinking or boozing or having fun, making noise. And then all of a sudden they start playing some of the local songs that are on the radio or a couple of their own songs. I think that's just a normal progression, that you gotta learn what people want to hear before you can create your own music, hoping that people are going to want to hear it, you know.
Yeah, that's very true.
You'll find out very quickly if they don't want to hear it, you know. So
were you a hit from the minute, you know, you started that process? Did you feel like, okay, music's for me, you know, I can do this well? Or did you have to grasp?
Yeah, I was tired of working on the farm, to be honest. I just wanted to get away from working on the farm and milking cows and delivering milk and shoveling cow poop. And there's a lot of it. I have great memories of shoveling it all every morning and every night. We had about 50 cows on the farm, and that's a lot of poop. So
it was a good escape from
it was just a way, yeah, it was a way of getting away on the, you know, to become in a band. And then all of a sudden you're this sort of little group of musicians, and it's you against the world, and it's fantastic. You know, you really feel like, and then you just put on the radio, and then, you know, Eleanor Rigby comes on, and you go, oh my God, what the hell's happening? And you have to learn that one. And then, you know, Sgt. Pepper and the Beatles and the Beach Boys and Zappa all happened, and Hendrix, all happened in a flurry of 3 years. And in some ways we get that now, but it's more subtle, if you like. There isn't that, musicians are very happy to be doing what they do. And I'm a very progressive thinker, musically speaking, still am, you know. So when I hear something very, very modern, if you like, you know, I remember listening to This Is America.
Oh yeah, Childish Gambino.
That's like mind-blowing, you know, and it happens now and again. I mean, it's well documented that I have a bromance with Jacob Collier. I think he's extraordinary, and I think there's a lot of musicians like that. So but there isn't the record company connection anymore. So people can do it via their own internet, their own streaming service, or, you know, send it to that Spotify or whatever. But there is a way of getting your music out there, but it's never that easy. You know, it's not like, oh, you're a musician. Oh, you're okay then. No, you're a musician. Now work hard and study what you're doing. And, you know, then you get these, you know, 12-year-old, 14-year-old people. I'm working with a lot of young people out of Connecticut with a company, which is Academy of Rock, which used to be the School of Rock, created by my friend Paul Green. And I'm working with them. You know, they're helping me with some vocalizing on a project. And these young musicians and singers, they're so good. And every now and again, I had one yesterday, a girl sent me some guitar work, and she put some bass on it. So I sang a lovely song for her and sent it back to her. I haven't heard from her yet, but I think it was good, you know. But
I'm sure it was.
Like anything, it's a teaching experience to go through those hours of traveling, hours of playing gigs. You don't want to really be there. Some gigs you like, you know, when you're starting off. I'm just talking about starting off. People have got to still do it. You know, you still got to start off and get a gig with a local church. You know, the Warriors. One of the first gigs we did was in a church.
Yeah,
It was really, really cool because we got front page headlines in the local paper. The Warriors play in the church. You know, it was really funky. It was good.
In a way, nowadays you still get that when it's rock, but like there are increasing amounts of people who are just able to upload their music onto Spotify and kind of just do it all from their bedroom without setting foot out there and playing a gig. And in a way, I feel like you lose a little bit of something from doing that, although there are some incredible people making music from their bedrooms. I mean, I don't know whether Jacob Collier started out just doing it in his room, but I mean, he does whole things by himself, you know, everything by himself. He
did everything in his room, his famous little room.
It's just incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, the fact that he can do orchestration is amazing. His mom was a piano teacher, I think, and he learned how to orchestrate. And a couple of the tracks that I've heard, he did some great work last year with musicians from around the world. At the Albert Hall. I haven't seen the video yet, but I've seen little snippets of it, and it's perfect. You know, it's what I do in my mind, and sometimes I'm lucky enough to do it in real time and record in real time with musicians from around the world. But he actually did it, and he's really well taken care of to be able to fulfill his dreams at this moment in time. But like anything, you know, I'd like to know where he'll be in 10 years. You know, experiencing the music that he's doing now is quite beautiful. So I'm just waiting for the next. I just watched his third album. It's just, he does that fast rap. It's just perfect. Like, you know, they talk very fast at the end of an advert for this, and then the blah, 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 blah. Well, he actually put it to a rap, but he sang it so fast. It was amazing. I thought, man, that guy is so hip.
Yeah, he's incredibly talented. And he just got, I think his recent album just got Grammy nominated, which was very good to see. Yeah,
it should be. Well, he's well connected. You know, he knows the right people too. He's very fortunate to meet with Quincy Jones. He's a beautiful guy.
Yeah, absolutely. But so I mean, it's great. It's great because a lot of people, you know, don't manage to find the time to support young artists, or kind of don't. You know, a lot of people are just kind of entrenched in their own thing. So it's pretty cool to see you kind of having that bromance, as it were.
Well, it's a learning curve. I did it 20 years ago when I was actually going through a tough time touring with Yes, and I got sick on a tour, and I was coughing up this dark stuff, and it was oil from the oil-based smoke that you have on stage. And of course, I'm inhaling it. After about 2 months of doing that, I remember me and my wife Jane. I was in Como in Italy, and I was coughing like a madman. You know, I thought I was going to die. So I just wanted a break from that. But I didn't want to let go of music for some reason. I just wanted to breathe a better situation, if you like. And so I went to work with the School of Rock in Philadelphia. And me and Jane, my wife, we went in, it was so stupid. We went at the end of January to Philadelphia. It's the coldest time in the world to go to Philadelphia. Freezing. It was freezing, but the energy I got from these young musicians was quite beautiful. And we had a great time, you know, doing a couple of Yes songs and a couple of Zappa songs, a Beatles song. And, you know, it was one of those things that I spoke to Paul Green about this and said, you know, I'm learning so much just working with these young people. It's just their innocence, and that's what you need to mold when you work with them, because they'd stand there like this playing something, and I say, well, why don't you move your body? What do you mean? Well, you know, like a bit of that, you know, you're on stage, man. Come on, you know. Oh, okay. Start doing, and the girls and the guys and the drummer, you know, come on, you're drumming, throw your stick up now and again and catch it. It's called showbiz.
Yeah.
But it was great. And I've reconnected with Paul last year when I did my 1,000 Hands tour, and his bands, 20 of them, they would open up for us, you know, about 8 at a time, you know, would open up for the show. And you'd listen to them and say, well, hey, they just need to practice more. That's all it is, you know, practice, practice, practice.
Yeah. Do you believe in the 10,000 hours theory, the Malcolm Gladwell 10,000 hours?
I have no idea what that is. Thank you. What is that?
So it's it's a theory espoused by Malcolm Gladwell, who's this writer and kind of intellectual who argues that if you put in 10,000 hours into something, you can become world class at it. And he wrote this book called Outliers about it, and he cites various examples. One of the examples was the Beatles saying that a lot of their 10,000 hours came when they went to Hamburg and did those residencies. Do you think that that's true, or do you think you need the innate natural talent as well?
No. We did the Beatle Trail with Warriors, which was to go to Cologne, Frankfurt, Hamburg, Copenhagen 4 times. Over a period of 1966, we went there 3 or 4 months, and you learn a lot about life. You learn a lot about performing when you're actually freaking out because you're so tired, because you have to do like 5 hours a night, and you just do it. And we were actually doing a show in Cologne in Germany, and it was on Saturday, you had to do a lunchtime session, which was from 12 till 3. No, 2 till 4, something like that. Anyway, it just happened to be the time of the World Cup, England playing Germany, and we couldn't watch the game. We had to play music, and that was devastating. And every time England scored a goal, we went crazy on stage because we had a radio on stage. And the Germans would throw beer bottles at us. So it's like, but we won, suckers. And but everything like that is a learning curve. You go through those hours of as I say, driving everywhere, and sleepless nights, and drinking too much, and partying a little bit too much, and then having to play music the day after, and you don't want to, but you have to. That's life, It's like anything in life. You just got to head down and get on with it, really.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, one of the things alongside you maintaining that passion through kind of working with younger people is that you've still been making records, and I mean, it's like quite. I was completely knocked out, especially by Ramalama on 1,000 Hands. Like I just couldn't believe, the harmonies and stuff. They're just so, I thought it was a really wonderful record. And I was just wondering, have you found it easy to keep creative during this year of lockdown and in general? A lot of people say that when they've done it all before, when they've had so much success like you've had, what motivates you to keep recording and keep creating? Is it just something that you feel like you need to do? I mean, please keep doing it because it's amazing. But a lot of people feel like they've lost the motivation, either through the virus or through the fact that the touring side of the business is the business side now. True.
No, it hasn't affected me so much. I'm just very obviously aware and sad about all the lives lost and all the families that go through that grief. It's not good. It isn't. It's never that good. It's very hard to believe in the afterlife, but I do believe in the afterlife, the next life, and so on. So I have no fear of death so much as knowledge that we are not only this time round, we are many more times round to grow and spiritually become more aware of who our spirit is connected to, which is, I think about it all the time. And the idea is that this year was a great time for me musically, and I've just been composing and finishing some work and diving very deep into some other work. The people who might be interested, they can just Google YouTube, Jon Anderson, Joyfulness. And there are 4 movements. And the visualization has been done by my friend Mick Byrne, who lives in Northern Ireland. And it's 4 pieces of music. That's what it is. I wrote the music in 1 week before I went on the last 1,000 Hands tour. But when I go home, I go around in my car listening to this music that I'd written. I started working out vocalizing ideas and melodies here or there. There's so many each piece is 18 minutes long. So you have so many undertones of music that I don't know how I remember playing it. I was like, there I go on my keyboard. Yeah. And so the more I started studying what I'd done and letting go, thinking, okay, I'll just sing ideas. And so January, February, March, I was singing ideas. April, May, June, I was singing more ideas. And then last month I was getting some young singers to sing along with me, and it sounded beautiful. And so I'm thinking how I want to release this would be in surround sound, because a lot of people have got surround sound in their TV systems, and I think that, we actually forget that we live in the surround sound, but then we just listen to music via stereo on headphones or whatever. And it would be nice to hear music that surrounds us, And so what I did, I had, if you want to Google, YouTube, Jon Anderson, there's hopefulness, joyfulness, gratefulness, thankfulness. And I thought, well, by the end of this year, I'll have done all the composition of the music and lyrics and vocalizing. And I've even got a friend of mine to do some orchestration. Wow. And the way we work is that I'll sing a song for him and he'll do some orchestration. So he'll send me some music, I'll sing another song for him and he'll send me some more orchestration. It's like a way of making music together without payment, because the payment is far more indifferent to the music. The music is the most important thing. And if you get paid for it, oh, great. But if you can make music without having to pay for it, which is a wonderful way of musically surviving and at the same time growing, which is kind of cool, I was able to work with lots of musicians. When MP3s first came out 15, 16 years ago, I started asking, I put on my first website, Musicians Wanted, and people from around the world would send me a minute of their music, and I picked out the good ones that really resonated with me and got back to them and talked to them. And we've been making odd pieces of music here, there, and everywhere. And wow. One day I'll figure out how to release it. I don't know exactly how, but I'll figure it out.
So is that still as of yet unreleased, like from 15 years ago or something like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I finished a piece of music that I wrote in 1981. I remember why it was 1981. It was because I was working on a project for Virgin Records that they turned down. They didn't like it. But it's okay because I liked it and I still like it. But at that time I was writing this little, you might call it a sort of semi-classical musical ideas, living in south of France, breathing in the energy of Picasso, people like that, And it's been a good experience in redesigning that music from that time. And like you say, I do have some songs that I wrote 10, 12 years ago that are so really special. And I've got to figure out a way of releasing them over the next 2 or 3 years or whatever. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, that would be great. And so you also wrote and released a song about politics, right? Go Screw Yourself.
Oh, yes.
Why did you decide to do that?
Well, I wrote it for the kids I was in a place, what's it called now? Near New York, Long Island. I was with the School of Rock kids. It was the year of the World Cup, because I remember me and Jane had watched the World Cup, and then the day after I'd be with these kids singing songs with them and working out ideas with them. And I wrote this song with them. I said, well, I want you all to start swearing. And they all said, why? I said, well, because, rock and roll, man. Come on. Screw yourself. All these politicians are screwing everybody. They're stealing money and not letting us know the truth. And the same with religious people. It's like religious people on TV are just pretty wild people, because they're saying, donate money to keep this going, donate the money, and they're putting the money in their new flashy car or new house, whatever. Donate your money and we'll make sure you get to heaven. What bullshit. What incredible bullshit. So that was that. And then, of course, the sad thing of priests, and it goes way back. You see, it's a very deep problem that I have with religion, when, you know, the Christian energy is like peace, love, and if you're not a Christian, you're fucked. You go to hell. All those Chinese people, they're going to hell. It's absolute bullshit. It's absolute bull. Because I learned that when I first started with Yes. You know, I read a book by Vera Stanley Alder, and she wrote some beautiful books. Lived in North London, and one of them was the Initiation of the World. That we're all connected through Christ consciousness, which is a good idea. That Christ is not limited to Jesus. Buddha was a Christ, Krishna was a Christ, Muhammad was a Christ, and they were the risen masters of the world. Now, I know that, and everybody that I know knows that. So I wrote a song about it. It's called the Buddha Song. I got these kids in East London to sing along with me, and we made a video. I want to thank you, Buddha, for being my teacher. I want to thank you, Jesus, for bringing this love. I want to thank Muhammad for being the prophet and singing of Krishna from heaven above. Ooh. And it was lovely to hear these kids. I actually found the video last week and I played it, and all these kids are standing there singing away. And I hope they get it. You know, I hope they, they don't become like, well, ours is better than yours. You're not good enough to go to heaven because you're not whatever, Yeah. It's that kind of, it's just a way of expressing myself through music. Well, I kind of joke about it because I was singing the song to Jane, my wife, and she knew the song from way back. And she said, you need the last verse. And she actually wrote, she'll say, I threw her under the bus. She wrote the line, it was all about how people misuse other people into despair and slavery and whatever. And, the incredible, terrible things. We've got people in cages in America and by the border, and they're still there. It was big news 3 months ago. Now it's not big news anymore. Everybody's forgot. Kids are in these cages still. And it's like, all the people that do that, well, go and screw yourself, you motherfuckers. Because you're soulless. People who do that to people are soulless. The orange man is very, very weak. Because he's a bully. Bullies are very weak people. I know that. And so you put them in your songs, and that was go screw yourself. I just love the idea of it. And I always meant to release it right then, because I had the 1000 Hands album done, finished. And then I did that song. And I said, I'm going to put it out just when you got to vote. And I put it out, and I was told that I got a lot of flack on my Facebook website, but I never read any comments because,
Yeah, I wouldn't go down that path.
No.
I mean, getting addicted to reading comments online when you're a well-known person can be a difficult rabbit hole to get sucked into, I guess.
No, not interested. I got to get on with the work. I got to get on with music, and feeling good every morning when I wake up and feeling thankful that I'm still alive, I'm still healthy, I'm still creative, I'm still needing to do some great work. I don't know what it is. And then it's funny because my good friend Mick Byrne is my video guy for the last few years. And he did a video of Gates of Delirium. And it is just so damn good. It was a concert we did. It's me, Steve and Chris and Alan, and a guy, I've gone blank on his name. It wasn't Rick. It was a really good guy. I remember it in a minute because I sent him an email. I sent him the version because it's with an orchestra from Poland. We toured around 2002. Tom Cridland, great keyboard player. He plays with Kansas now. He just joined them.
All right.
And
wow.
So we toured with this Polish orchestra, and it was set up. This guy we worked with on Magnification, he did some orchestral. He wrote the music for orchestra. We toured America, and we played with some great orchestras. You play with the Symphony of Atlanta, and they're playing and they're looking at their watch. They're playing away, going, how long do we have to do this music? But the pickup orchestras wanted to play with Yes, and you could feel it on stage. So we went to work with this Polish orchestra, and they were all young people. They're probably in their 20s, most of them. And this is like 18 years ago, 2002. And man, they played so good. And the recordings are brilliant. I was so surprised. I was so relieved because I was never a big fan of Gates of Delirium recordings or live or whatever. They were okay, but this is so good. You have a feeling inside that, well, we was good. Yes was good. That Chris's bass playing is unbelievably beautiful. And Steve, of course, note for note, right on it. And Alan just pounding away. And Tom Cridland really cooking away on the keyboards. But the orchestra, you can see them dancing, and they're really digging it, because it's a wild piece of music. It's not something you hear on Spotify.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Yes is just it's completely mind-blowing music.
Yeah, I'll send you the video. It's really good.
I'd love to see it. So in terms of, it was quite recently that I got into your solo album from 1988. I hope you don't mind me asking you about it, because I'll probably, you've done so much that I have to be quite scattergun in terms of asking you about things. But do you have fond memories of making the In the City of Angels album?
Yeah.
You like it?
Oh gosh, yeah. Here's the funny. There's so many funny things about creativity. It was the mid '80s. Yes was #1 around the world. I was a superstar. A record company gave me a lot of money to make a record, and they asked me, what am I going to do? I said, I'm going to Cuba because I want to sing with the big bands. The big bands in Cuba are just so incredible. I have a couple of records, and I had a contact. I was going to go there, and they stopped the check.
How come?
Well, because they didn't want me to make an album in Cuba. They didn't want me to do music with Cuban people, Cuban style, to whatever. I decided the year of doing it, and anyway. So they got back to me a month later and said, look, we've got a good producer. He's just produced with Simply Red. And I thought, pop music. And I said, yeah. And he said, he knows Toto, and they want to do sessions with you. And I said, Toto, yes. So I got together with Toto, and we did some songs I knew. I wrote some songs with a couple of people. And then I met Lamont Dozier.
And Lamont Dozier was a songwriter for Motown, right?
Yeah,
one of the best of all time.
Yeah, Holland Dozier Holland. Man, they wrote every song with da-da-da-da, without a doubt was a hit. And they were all great. And they were all done in an afternoon. It didn't take them a week to learn anything. They just got it. Da-da-da-da.
Incredible.
Set me free, why don't you, babe? Come on. And so I was introduced to him. Would I like to go and ride with him? I said, yeah. So I went to his house in the Valley in LA, and there was this guy, big, beautiful guy, you know, from black guy, just kind of cool, man. Well, come on in, man. Come on in, yeah. And he got at the piano, started playing. He had tapes everywhere. And we wrote 3 songs in a couple of hours. And he came to the sessions. One was called, I can't remember, but it was really good. And the funniest thing was, it didn't take off at all. It didn't. The record didn't sell, except for Quebec. Quebec province is a beehive of Yes fans.
Is it?
And they loved the album. It got into the top 10. I didn't know about it until 20 years later. I was doing a solo show in Quebec, and I went to the agent that was putting on the concert. It was a festival, and they were playing the record, Hold On to Love. And I said, hey, you don't have to play that, just to please me. No, what do you mean? This was top 10. This was. I said, really? So it was a hit somewhere. So that's what I remember.
It sounds like a hit record, it really sounds amazing. I didn't know it was Toto playing on it, because it was only this year that I started listening to it again and again. But I was just like, how do I not know this? This is so good.
Thank you.
What a fantastic album. It's as good as I mean, in terms of Yes, right? So, I mean, this is probably quite a bog standard question, but to hear the answer from you is a wonderful thing for my audience, I'm sure, because a lot of them probably want to know this. So, Yes, obviously has some distinct eras, or they're distinct anyway in the eyes of the fans. Do you have a kind of? It seems like you relish being involved with lots of different styles of music. So do you kind of have a preference for one thing over another in terms of what Yes recorded? Like the 70s, like kind of prog rock style versus, the 80s where it became, I guess, more pop rock driven?
Well, there's that period that I was very excited to do the 90125, because I was missing being in Yes, to be honest. I'd been out of Yes for a couple of years or so, simply because it was being managed by the manager. The band was being managed by the manager and a producer. It was terrible. Yes managed itself as a band of musicians all the way through the 70s, and then all of a sudden, people were saying, "Oh, you gotta have a producer." Hold on. They were terrible. They weren't helpful to the music. They were interested more in the money and how many clubs they could go to. This kind of energy is, screw that. In Paris, a beautiful place, Paris. Anyway, so when I don't know why I got onto that tangent. Sorry. So I got into that sort of space of making records, thinking about doing totally different than 90125, because I thought 90125 was so well put together. Musically, sounds, the vocals, and every Trevor and Chris and Trevor Horn did an incredible job. And I just came in at the end and sang some song parts and verses for Connor and fix this and fix that in my mind, would make it sound better. I really jumped into a different world in the late 80s, because I knew that the whole idea of Yes doing Big Generator was just to make another hit record, and it became very laborious for everybody. I was just on the outskirts of that record because I was told to be on the outskirts. So let that, Trevor Rabin, Trevor Horn, they wanted to do the album like 90125, and I said, okay, I'll stay away. So I went and did an album with Vangelis. I did a Christmas album. I did the one we talked about.
In the City of Angels, yeah.
And in the City of Angels. And then all I wanted to do actually was then maybe recreate Yes in my mind. So I went to the record company and I said, okay, I've given up wanting to go to Cuba. And they said, oh, thank you, Jon, very good. So what do you want to do now? I said, well, I'm going to get in touch with Steve Rick and Bill and create an album. And they said, okay, here's the money. You can go and do it. So I got in touch with them and spent a day or two with them and, went to south of Paris and found a studio there where I got some musicians that I knew very well in London who could actually play very similar to Bill or to Steve and to Rick, but to make a sort of demo version of what became ABWH. And I thought, what a great idea. I don't have to deal with everybody's isms in the studio. I'll just go make a demo and get them to play on it. And then we went to Montserrat to record it. Steve Martin. Mr. Martin's. Who?
George Martin's.
Yeah, Mr. George Martin's studio. I always remember Steve Martin said the best thing ever, the comedian. Because he was asked, and I lived by this, to be honest. He was asked, so you've done so many things, your plays, your books, your movies and everything. What do you think of them? He said, well, half of them were good and half of them weren't. And I said, that's it, perfect. Half of what I've done is really great. Half is okay. It's like, so at that time I was definitely studying the idea of doing Toltec, which I listened to for the first time just the last week, having not listened to it for many years. And Toltec, if anybody doesn't know it, you should listen to it. It's pretty interesting music. There's a great writer called Carlos Castaneda. He's now passed away, but he wrote some amazing books in the 60s, studying the Native Americans of central Mexico, Yaqui Indians who were sorcerers, known as interdimensional connectors, and ridiculously funny, beautiful books by Carlos Castaneda. So I wanted to do an album about him. This was after I'd done ABWH tour and everything, which was a big success. And then we tried to do it again, but most of the guys in the band wanted to do everybody in the same studio writing. And I said, okay. And it didn't work. It didn't work out. That's why we eventually did Union album. But then I did this album called Toltec. I was going to call it The Power of Silence. That was going to be Carlos Castaneda's new book. And I wanted to tour with Carlos Castaneda like a book tour. I was living in Hollywood. I had a studio finishing the record, and it's such a beautifully made record. I listened to it, as I said, last week for the first time for a long time. I was so surprised how good it is. Whether it appeals to everybody, you don't know really. You never know. But
so is that a 90s album, mid-90s? Toltec?
Very early, yeah. I remember because I was finishing it when I met my wife, Jane. Those two things happened at the same time. And it's worth listening to because I don't know, something about it that's very mystical still. I'm saying the same thing all the time, surely there come a time of letting go. Surely there come a time of letting go of all this nonsense we call life and getting on with the spiritual quest and things. Now we build the bridges that we walk upon. Now we build the bridges that connect us. We're all connected all around the world. And the COVID is really helping us to understand each other as well a little bit. And we're all going through hell, if you like. Anyway, that's what inspired me at that time. And then there was a knock at the door just when I was actually finishing it. And it was going to be with Geffen Records, pretty big company. And there was these two albino people standing at the door, pretty tall as well. Albinos are people with white hair, white eyebrows, very pale complexions, and blue eyes. And I thought they were two aliens. And they said, we are the lawyers for Carlos Castaneda. Under no circumstances will you talk of his name, sing of his name, use his name on your record. I don't know how they found out about it, but they did. because I talk a lot, as
Good.
you can tell. And you can never, ever speak about it, okay? And I said, done deal, done, it's
My
okay.
God.
So I changed the name to Toltec, because the Toltec with the Central American Indians were well known as sorcerers, shamans, real connectors with the life force of the earth mother. And so Carlos Castaneda books are just ridiculously good to read, especially when you're on tour and you've got a lot of time on your hands, you know.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you for giving us so long for this podcast. I really appreciate it. And I've just got I've just got a final question for you, which is in terms of your voice. It's obviously incredibly distinctive. You know, it's one of those voices in pop and rock music that you recognize the minute. Well, at least I do. I feel like I recognize it the minute you hear the record. First of all, you never sing in falsetto, is that correct? And secondly, how naturally did the harmonies come to you? Because in my mind, they're some of the best harmonies in pop and rock music. You know, like Roundabout, and I've Seen All Good People, and all that stuff, and on your solo records. Is that something you just do by ear? You just see it and visualize it?
Yeah, a lot of that was Chris, because Chris was brought up in a church choir as a young kid, and whenever he did some harmonies, they were just, and you listen to his bass playing, it's so harmonically correct with the vocal. And so obviously I was a fan of the Beach Boys, and there was a group, I was thinking about them the other day. They were jazz singers. They were called Lambert, Hendricks, and Ross, very famous in the early 60s. And Jon Hendricks actually got up and sang with Yes at our first major concert in the Reading Festival. And Jon Hendricks, who'd seen us at the Marquee Club, asked, could he get up and sing a song with me? And I said, yeah, come on. Because he could just sing like a bluebird, you know. And so harmonies came very, very natural to me over the years. And as soon as I got into recording at home, which I do all the time for the last 20 years now, is that it's just an adventure every morning. If I can come in the morning and start doing my vocalizationing, which basically I sent my vocalization and without music to Michael Franklin, and he created, it was called Ramalama then. He just created all the music on his laptop on his way to China one day. And on his way back, he created the music to Where Does Music Come From? Which was all vocals, you know, and I've got a dozen of those ideas in my computer somewhere. And it's just a way of waking up in the morning and singing for the joy of singing and writing something, you know, and then put it away and get on with the next thing. And that's what I'm doing now.